What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Who's Number One podcast. Another huge show. We just got off a Who's Number One event last weekend. It was huge. It was monumental. So we're gonna break down all the action from last weekend and look forward to our May 28th card. Who's Number One? It just keeps getting bigger and better. Super excited to talk about this one. I'm right here. We got the man Corey Stockton helping out, breaking this stuff down. What's up, Corey? How you doing, brother?
What's going on, Reed? I am so excited to talk about this event. Absolutely, in my mind, the best Who's Number One event we've had so far. And I mean, a lot of implications for the future, right? So many of the people on this card we'll get into later were under 20 years old.
Crazy.
So lots to look forward to.
Absolutely. Really excited to go in depth in there. We got in the back, we got Connor Joshin, the social media guru. What do you think, Connor? Corey just said it, best Who's Number One of all time. What do you think?
I think we're going to debate that a little bit, but I also think we're going to keep this train rolling.
Yeah.
We got a Who's Number One coming up in, what is it? It's like less than a month.
For real.
May 28th, and the card is coming out. Stay tuned on our Instagram. We're going to continue to have some of those match announcements, and join me in the comments. We will ask questions if they are kind.
Yep, there you go. Shout out to the YouTube comment section. Always holding it down out there. Let us know if you guys got any questions or anything you want to ask Corey. Let us know. But yeah, like you said, man, it's been so incredible to watch the evolution of this Who's Number One. You know, we started it kind of last year out of some necessity, COVID and all those things were happening, and to see where Who's Number One has gone in such a short amount of time, it's really incredible to watch. And I totally agree with you here, Corey, that this Who's Number One just seemed like it kind of blew the other ones out of the water. We had 4 submissions. Plenty of young, up-and-coming talent. You had the Rotolo brothers. You know, this one didn't have a huge headliner. Of course, we lost Craig Jones. We were able to, luckily, we had a great co-main event in Lovato versus Burns. So people, I think, maybe were a little unsure how this one was going to deliver, but wow, did it deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was kind of a heartbreaker at the end there for Lovato, who was doing, you know, just enough to get by. He wasn't really able to get a lot of attacks off, but when Dorino turned it on, man, did he! Like he was able to just impose his game in such a way that it went from like, I don't really know who could win this, to, oh, Dorino's got this in the bag, as long as he just stays where he's at. So, like you said, it maybe was a little bit anticlimactic losing what we thought was going to be the main event, but this one, I think, made up for it.
Absolutely. I mean, it just goes to a testament to these Who's Number One shows. We really, Michael does a great job of putting every single match means something. Every one of these athletes, is must watch. All these guys, you mentioned you had so many young. How many like under 21?
I think we had 6 athletes under 20 years old.
6 athletes under 20.
Right. So we can go through them. We have Nikki Ryan, Ty Rotolo, Cade Rotolo, Grace Gundrum, and
Alex.
Alex, I think, is 20. So yeah. If not under 20, then at least under. William Tackett.
William Tackett. I mean, the future of jiu-jitsu is so bright, and just stacking these Who's Number One cards with great match after great match. It's a testament to how strong these Who's Number One shows have gotten. Connor, what do you think, man? You've of course you've been to them all. You've been there. Watching these Who's Number One cards. Any other ones stick out to you as rivaling this one, or what do you think? Is this the best?
I think personally that this is the best, but I've also, I don't know, I have a bias towards this one. This was one of the ones we were able to turn around very quickly, and a lot of disappointment early on, because we thought we had lost the show, and yet all the athletes came out and just put it on. Everyone came out looking for submissions. If you watched it, I think we probably had one of the highest percentage rate per matches than we ever had. I mean, and that's
submission rate, you mean?
Yeah. That's exactly what everyone's trying to see. So.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. What do you think was what match stuck out kind of to you above all the rest? Do you think?
Cade.
Yeah,
definitely Cade.
Wow,
he turned that around. Like 2 entirely different people out on the mats from the first match to the second match.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, we're going to talk about every one of these matches. So let's just jump into it real quick and talk about all of them. 8 matches on the night, right? I believe. So nothing but great matches. Started off a little slow. We had Heisam Rita versus Sloan Clymer. Personally, I was looking forward to this one. I was even kind of calling it potentially fight of the night. Didn't quite get there. Of course, this was maybe one of the. I mean, it was still a great match, but probably the slowest match of the night. Heisam looked great out there. I don't think Sloan really was able to get to his game or get to what he was trying to do out there. I think first match of the night, who's number one is a big stage. Maybe the kind of moment maybe kind of got to him a little bit. What do you think about this match?
I think first of all, the first one with fans in attendance.
Oh,
right?
That's true. Yeah,
those lights are big. It is his Who's Number One debut. It was his first pro show as a black belt. So I think all of those things might have fed into Sloan really not pulling the trigger. I just like you was really excited about this match. I think that it was maybe two relatively unknown guys, but two very explosive athletes. I think if we saw it again, it might be totally different.
Yeah.
But Heisam's takedowns, the 2 takedowns that he did hit were crazy impressive. Exactly what I was hoping for, right? He's the judoka who comes in the nogi scene and is able to toss everybody around. So it was nice to see him hit a couple solid takedowns out of his highlight reel.
Slick foot sweep there towards the end of the match. I think Heisam was really pretty much in control of the match probably the whole time. It seemed like he was kind of the guy pushing the pace, and like I said, Sloan just never got to what he was trying to do. Would you say that's a fair assessment, Connor?
Yeah, and I totally understand why that is too. When you have a guy like Heisam who doesn't want to go to the ground unless he's getting the takedown, shooting in on that is intimidating. Not only, as a wrestler, you got to deal with all the things that come with shooting during a jiu-jitsu match.
And Heisam is a physical specimen too.
Exactly.
He's a big guy.
And he's so long. So even if you get the takedown, fine, maybe you fight off a guillotine or you defend against a Kimura. Are you going to be able to get past, Heisam's legs, throwing up triangles all the way through the guard? I get it's an intimidating process. So, but props to both competitors for coming out. Heisam, we would love to have you back. We're gonna find you a match, and man, let's just keep this rolling.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Sloan. I think we didn't see his best that night, so hopefully we'll get him back and maybe see him open things up. And I think he's got a lot to showcase to the Who's Number One fans. So maybe we'll see him again. But what do you think, Connor? Heisam, looked great. Any names out there you'd like to see him up against, or anybody have any suggestions on in the comments maybe on who we should match Heisam up against? Because I feel like he's a guy that we need to have back on the show, right?
You know what? I'm gonna get back with you with the experts from the comments section on that one. There's a lot of names that we could throw around, but I'm kind of curious what they think.
Yeah, me too, for sure. Let us know about that. But let's move on to the next prelim of the night. Connor had a couple teammates, a couple friends on the card, and I think this was one of them. We had Lauren Sears versus Jesse Crane. We talked a lot about this match being a rematch. Jesse being the favorite, even though Lauren won the last match. What do you think, Connor? I mean, Corey, did this match play out how you expected it to?
I have to say yes. I've been watching Jesse Crane over the last couple of events she's done, whether it be Fight to Win or some IBJJF stuff, and she looks just dominant against everybody she goes against, and I'm talking in absolute weight classes. Now she fought at 115 in this match, so she looked really solid, right? Her takedown game was strong. As soon as she got it to the mat, she passed, and what impressed me most was her patience in mount, right? We knew she wanted to get to the back. She knew she wanted to get to the back.
Lauren knew.
Lauren knew she wanted to get to the back, and Jesse did not make a single mistake in being overzealous to getting to Lauren's back. And she waited her time. She knew she had a lot of time on the clock, and when she got there, the finish was instant.
I mean, wow, so impressive. This 115-pound women's division. Not something that gets a lot of hype or headlines or anything like that. But man, this might be one of the most exciting divisions in jiu-jitsu, like bar none. Men or women. You got girls like Maisa, who's a killer, Grace, who had a great performance later on in the night. Alex even looked great in defeat. Of course, you have Jessa and Patty. maybe coming up sometime soon. But what do you think about this 115-pound division?
Yeah, I actually after who's number one, I went right home and wrote an article about it the same night because I'm really excited about. Right now the category only has 8 people in the rankings, but I think we saw Alex make her case that she might be number 9 in there, or maybe even a little higher. And after seeing what Jessie Crane was able to do against Lauren, I would love to see her against one of the top 5.
Yeah.
There's
She's a fresh name, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're looking for people that can take on girls like Patty and Jessa and Misa and Grace. It's kind of a shallow division, but for as shallow as it is, everybody in there is kind of chomping at the bit to get to the top 2 or 3 girls.
Yeah, and it seems like it's growing. Every time we do, we got more and more names, more and more girls kind of in this weight class who are coming out and looking great. I think Jessie was had a bad taste in her mouth, of course, from the last match, and she really wanted to prove to everybody that she's in this upper echelon of 115-pound girls, and I think she absolutely did that. Connor, let me get your read on this matchup, man. Another 10th Planet Austin girl. I know you guys trained together, but great to have the whole 10th Planet Austin crowd in attendance. Actually, it was really fun to hear them kind of going for their guys and their girls and stuff like that. So what did you think about this match?
Yeah, the 10th Planet Austin team always comes out in droves. We love having them out. Shout out to Jessica Crane, man. She looked like the next level. She looked like from here on out, she's going to be eyeing some of these main card matchups with, the ladies that you guys have described, Jessica Kahn or Grace Gundrub. She's at that point, and I think she really proved that. And shout out to her, because if anyone in the comment section or anyone at all is curious about how do I get better at jiu-jitsu quick, I think at the end of the day you can watch these athletes and say, okay, they're just putting in time and dedication from one match to another where they look like different grapplers. And, and if that's the case, then, potential is meaningless, or potential is limitless for everybody at that point. I mean, congrats, Jessica.
Yeah, for sure. I think definitely you can see the evolution from their first match. Maybe it was, they were a little tentative, a little bit more, reserved in the technique they were going after. But this match, both girls opened things up. Both girls went after it. You could tell they were interested in putting on an exciting match, and mission accomplished, because that was a fun one. Congrats to Jessie. Hope to have Jessie back on Who's Number One in no time. That'll be a fun one. What do you got for us, Connor? You got some breaking social media?
We got some fun matchups for Heisem, and you guys are gonna like these. Okay. And I think the comment section went a little bit wild, but I appreciate them with it. Right? We got Heisem versus Edwin Najmi.
Okay.
I'll take that.
Edwin's a little small for Heisem.
Yeah, I know, but I think he'll jump up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a large jump to get to that flying triangle.
Hey, Edwin flying triangle Nicholas Marigali. So if he can flying triangle Nicholas Marigali, he can basically flying triangle anybody.
We got Heisem versus Orlando Sanchez on the other end of the spectrum.
Wow.
We got Heisem Nicky Rod. They want the lanky boys with Heisem and Keenan.
Yeah.
People are throwing out names there. Heisem Kyle Bame. Yeah. Thanks to the YouTube chat.
Heisem Kyle Bame is a good one.
Heisem matchup.
Yeah, Heisem. What was the other name you said? Heisem? Oh, Orlando Sanchez. That you're trying to kill Heisem a little bit on that one, I think.
We got Devontae Johnson. We got Keenan. We got Ronaldo Jr.
Yeah, for sure. When Heisem finished the match and he went over and shook Keenan's hand, because Keenan is Sloan's coach. When he went over there and shook Keenan's hand, it was like, oh, that's an interesting matchup. They're kind of similar sizes.
In his post-match interview, he actually asked for a Keenan match.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So what do you think about that one?
We haven't seen Keenan do gi in quite a while.
True.
It'd be cool to see him come back against the newer generation.
Absolutely. Always love watching Keenan compete. So hopefully one day we can get him on this Who's Number One stage. That'd be an incredible match. So yeah, I love that one. Heisem versus anybody, man. That I would definitely pay to watch that. So. All right, let's keep moving down the line, though. We had our first match of the night, which was, what was our first match?
Andrew Wiltie, David Garmo.
That was the first one? Yeah. Wow, man, they're all such great matches, and they delivered. And this one, of course, fan favorite, Andrew Wiltie, coming out on the Who's Number One stage. He had a great win just a few times ago versus PJ Barch. And this time, I think he was a little bit more anxious to push the pace, anxious to put on a show, especially with those fans in attendance here. This was a great match. Of course, I know you're a big Andrew Wiltse fan, Connor. Always pushing the Orange Chicken, the Panda Express.
Absolutely, we're bullying the Panda Express social media manager.
I cannot believe that they have not jumped on the Andrew Wiltse train. I am dumbfounded that the Panda Express corporate is not the biggest Andrew Wiltse fans in the world right now. Like, this guy is electric. He's an incredible jiu-jitsu artist, and I've literally never met a bigger fan of Panda Express than this guy.
No, and actually,
So-
Andrew was telling me during the event that he was doing some research and he found that there is a single individual that is sponsored by Panda Express. They're like an Instagram model or something.
I was gonna say, it's an athlete.
He was fuming. He was fuming that
So they do throw out sponsorships.
at least one.
At least one.
It's
Wow.
trash, man. We're
Wow.
gonna make the war isn't over, guys. The war is not over.
What are we doing here? Yeah, for sure. If you guys haven't been on the Panda Express Facebook page tagging Andrew Wiltse, get on there right now and tag him, just because he deserves it. We got some highlights here too of this match: David Garmo versus Andrew Wiltse. David Garmo came in, looked really game, really excited to put on a show versus Andrew. And the match delivered, man. This was a fun one of the more fun ones of the entire night, wouldn't you say, Corey?
Yeah, absolutely. And it looked like Wiltse was just having fun in there too. He was talking a little bit.
Yeah.
He was playing into the crowd, and I think that the energy of the crowd might have given him a little bit of a different look than he had against PJ.
And of course, you can see there are a couple clips of him in the wizard hat too. I mean, this guy was having a great time. This is like quintessential Andrew Wiltse. I feel like, sometimes you see him, he's maybe a little shyer or what, but he was in full form out there this time around. What do you think about this match, Connor? These two guys went at it.
I think Andrew Wiltse seemed like a different person before the match. I think when we went to the previous day of promos, it seemed like he was a little bit more humble. I don't know if that was a feigned humility or what, but man, he came out this time and he was ready to have fun with it. He was he was talking trash a little bit. Obviously, him and David are great friends, so it was all in good fun. But this was a lot of personality we got to see out of him beforehand. And to me, what that means is he's getting used to competing on this stage, and we're going to see not only more of that, fun Panda Express loving personality that we get to, but we're going to see higher and higher level jiu-jitsu the more comfortable he gets here. And I'm excited for what's to come.
Little one-handed rear naked choke right there. You don't see that too often, right?
No, but he did a really precise job of trapping, and again, being patient on the back, right? He took Garmo's back and then trapped the arms and worked to a position where David could not defend himself, and then the choke is
That's the worst, right? You ever had a black belt instructor who just like takes away all of your defenses until you just have no defenses anymore, and he doesn't even like choke you, but he'll just take away all your defenses so you have no other option to.
So he could choke you if he decided,
other than to tap. That's sort of what it looked like a little bit. Wiltse just took away all Garmo's options of defense to trap the arm, and then gave him no other option other than to tap. One of Wiltse's most impressive performances ever, would you say?
Yeah, I would say, especially at black belt, right? Garmo competes just about every month, and what's always been exciting about Garmo is he always looks good in his weight class, but he always kills it in the absolute, and I mean submits everybody in the absolute. So to go against a bigger guy like Wiltse and have Wiltse just basically take control of the match is the most impressive thing we've seen from him so far, I think.
Yeah, and to your point there, Connor, about seeing these guys grow as they come back to who's number one. That's such a great thing that we're seeing now as we get more guys. This is Ty Rotolo's fourth time on Who's Number One. This is Andrew Wiltse's second time on Who's Number One. These guys, Wagner been on a bunch of times. A lot of these guys have come back. They know what to expect. They know what to bring. They know how big the spectacle is. Sometimes, like we were talking about Haysem Sloan, sometimes the moment can get to you. But as these guys continue to come back to the show and bring just a more and more refined game, especially for this 15-minute time limit and everything like that, I think, man, it's just like we're just getting started here. We're just getting started. The more and more we get these guys back, the more and more excitement, the more and more finishes I think we're going to see. And I think this Andrew Wiltse match is a perfect example of that, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, it's not just the old faces that are coming on. We're bringing in new guys.
Yeah.
Pretty much every card, there's someone new hopping on, some big name that people are excited about. This is just the beginning of Who's Number One, and it is exciting.
All right, let's jump into the next. Or what do we think about next match for Andrew Wiltse? Kind of wide open for him, right?
The chat wants Andrew.
Yeah, I want some answers in there. Go ahead, Connor.
The chat's got some ideas.
The chat has one name so far.
Okay.
And that is Andrew Wiltse versus Nicky Ryan.
Wow, that's the match. All right, book it.
Book it. Hey, Daisy
Text
Fresh
Michael, let him
versus
know.
DDS.
That's an interesting one. Nicky Ryan, of course, had a match later on the card we'll talk about as well. He looked good. Andrew looked great. That could be a fun matchup.
And Nicky Ryan's been talking about his guard passing, and what is a better test for anyone's guard passing in the world than Andrew Wiltse?
That's a good one. What do you think, Corey? Any names jump out for you as next test for Andrew? He's on his way up here, right?
Yeah, I want to take a look at the rankings. It definitely has to be somebody higher than him in the rankings at this point. I think he's made his point that he deserves to be at least where he is.
Yeah.
In the 185 division. So let's look a little bit ahead. The 185 is stacked with, and we're talking about maybe the top 3 or 4 guys are on another level all their own. But I'd love to see Wiltse against somebody in that gap.
I was going to throw out the name Ronaldo Jr.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe that's a good name. Those guys do have a little bit of a history. They fought each other on the come-up color belts. I believe they're maybe 2-1 or 3. I believe Andrew does have the edge, 2-1, 3-1, something like that in matches that they've had in the past. They fought both gi and no gi, I know. So those guys have some history. Ronaldo coming off the Craig loss, he's looking to bounce back. I think that could be an interesting matchup for those guys coming forward. Maybe Andrew was having too much fun this last one. We need a heel for Andrew a little bit.
And Andrew Wiltse already had some words for Ronaldo. He said hey, if you want to get tapped again, you can get tapped again. So, or beat again probably was it. But, he's ready for it. We got a few more. We also got Wiltse versus Josh Hinger.
Okay.
I don't know. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. A lot of good matches for Andrew. He's a young guy too, and so he's got a lot more left in the tank. So hopefully we see him back on Who's Number One stage very, very soon. Okay, let's jump in. Let's keep this train rolling here.
Yeah, speaking of match of guys that look better their second time or third time on Who's Number One, right? Cade Rotolo looked like a different animal against Ethan Carlston.
This is the greatest Who's Number One match I've ever seen, in my opinion. This is, oh my God, like, so much fun from start to finish. Both these guys, just a bundle of energy that just collide. This is exactly the match we're looking for on the Who's Number One stage. Throwing submissions at each other left and right, never stop moving. Holy smokes, was this an incredible match. If you guys haven't seen it, stop what you're doing right now and pop this one on. This is jiu-jitsu at its purest form, at its highest level. It does not get any better than this one. I'm sorry, I flipping love this match.
Yeah, I think I forgot to breathe the whole match. Like it did not stop. It was a scramble the whole way through. There were some legitimate attacks, some heart-stopping moments, and we alluded to it before, but Cade Rotolo just he didn't look like the same person.
Yeah.
And he looked like he was out there to prove a point, right? And against Ethan, who put it on him in the very early rounds. I think we have a clip too. We can roll that.
Yeah, we got some clips, some highlights of this one. Like I said, the entire match is a highlight. What do you think, Connor? Best Who's Number One match you've ever seen?
It's one of them for sure. I think whenever we're doing our predictions, we know the Ruotolos are so good at Darce chokes. But when I think about competition on this high level, it's hard for me to put my money on any kind of submission that's not a heel hook or something off a back take, maybe an arm bar if someone gets lucky. Whenever Cade really threw that in, I was so impressed by how deep it was on such a good opponent who knew that kind of technique was coming. Man, what can you say about Cade Ruotolo?
Yeah, how about this armbar right here too, where he steps over. So, I thought you had to think it was over right here. It was such a deep armbar. Look at him step over for it. Excuse me.
Beautiful.
And you know what? That setup, the setup stepping over to the armbar was a really similar way he set up the darts too. Both times Ethan coming up, so might have been something that he picked out in the game plan. But what I thought was most interesting about this match
This is just Ethan gutting it out right here, right?
And it looked like it was on and hurting.
Yeah.
Cade said it didn't pop, but I mean, I don't know how that could possibly be true.
I mean, that might be a testament to Ethan's strength and conditioning there, where he was able to keep the arm straight, because he obviously he's been putting in work. He looks great.
Well, I was talking to the Daisy Fresh head coach, Heath Pedigo. Shout out, Heath.
Pick up that name real quick.
And he was telling us, arm bars were mental, is what he was saying. It's all mental. It doesn't matter. Yeah, you can just grit it out. And as he was saying this, I look up, and then Cade's trying to rip off Ethan's arm, and hey, this time it was true.
I mean, you can break the arm in an arm bar, so I wouldn't say it's all mental, but
apparently to Heath Pedigo, you can keep going with the broken arm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true. You're not going to get put to sleep in an arm bar.
Yep.
But I don't know. It will still. We'll still stop working eventually.
Yeah. I'm with Heath. Absorb it. Take it, guys.
No, just an incredible match, man. And like you said, I think it really was a different Cade Rotolo out there. I just have a hard time like thinking about, like you were saying, Connor, trying to wrap my head around that somebody could tap out Ethan Crenlinston. Right. Somebody can tap out these high-level guys. It's just hard to wrap your head around that somebody could tap these guys out. And Ethan is one of those guys where it's just like it's hard to fathom that somebody can get him to tap out. But Cade did it, man. And he looked absolutely fantastic. He definitely was out to prove a point. He won the last one, but he definitely wasn't happy with his performance. You could tell that he went right after it from the get-go. And congrats to Cade. Of course, I think Ty has had some great performances out there. Of course, he had the ADCC performance out there. But Cade, I'm very glad to see that Cade is also, getting that rub as well, because Cade obviously just as good as Ty. They're both incredible. They're both the future of the sport. And yeah, man, these guys are so cool.
So I've got a question for everybody here and for the comments too. But so Cade is currently ranked second in the 155-pound division. I think up until this weekend, it was second with an asterisk, right? Because that match with Ethan was kind of controversial decision. Yep. I think now he is in second in the 155 division. Does this mean his next match has to be Kennedy? A quick reminder, too, that Kennedy beat Ty in the ADCC finals, or ADCC semifinals.
Yeah. What do you think, Connor?
I think so. Ricardo Amendolia, he is in our comments section. Shout out, Ricardo. He thinks so as well. I don't know. That seems like the matchup to make, but that is like a main event of a who's number one matchup, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's obviously the next on the docket for both these guys. I would like to see Kennedy and Ty run it back at some point too, because that was such a fun match, and the tides turned so quickly where it looked like Ty was kind of all over Kennedy and he was going to get the win. Maybe if he played it a little more conservative, maybe he would have. But, and then at the last minute there, things shifted and Kennedy was able to get the submission. Incredible match. Of course, now Ty's a little bit bigger these days, so let's run it with Cade and Kennedy, little brother redemption. He's got to do it for his brother. Great storyline there, and of course, man, Kennedy's a killer. These two guys are the best in the world.
I think if that match happens, we see something close to identical. Maybe not the positions, but the pace close to identical to Cade Ethan match.
Kennedy Absolutely. Goes after it. I mean, that would be a crazy match for sure.
Yeah, I have a question. Do you guys think, I don't know if you watched the press conference, I'm sure you did since you're bigger fans than pretty much everyone else in the world, but me and Michael Sears kind of talked Ethan and Cade into making a small wager over buzzing their head depending on who lost. So the question is, does Ethan get the haircut?
As long as I don't have to get a haircut, I'm fine.
You know what we can do? We can make sure that Craig Jones makes sure that Ethan gets the haircut.
Craig Jones, you heard it. You need to enforce that one.
Yeah,
we got it on tape.
I'm not sure. Cade did tell me before the match that he needed to get a haircut, so I feel like that was a little bit.
Oh man, Cade cannot cut that. He has to keep that going until he loses, like a Dothraki.
I mean, it's a great way to tell Ty and Cade apart. Cade's got long hair, Ty's got a shaved head. Let's keep it like that. That's easy for everybody. But Ethan's growing out the blonde look
Yeah,
there.
the bleached locks.
The
I
bleached
like it.
locks. So maybe it is time to shave it. Who knows? But obviously Ethan very disappointed, of course, in the match. But it takes two to tango, of course, and Ethan put it all out there on the line. So props to him. I know we're gonna see him again. High hopes for Ethan, of course. Still, he's one of the best in the world. Can't wait to see him at ADCC. That's what all those guys are working towards. But the night belonged to Cade Rotolo for sure. Submission of the night too, right? We gave him the submission of the night.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely on the
Well-deserved.
short list for submission of the year.
Submission of the
I
year.
mean, if it's not submission of the year and match of the year, I'll be very surprised. We have a lot of time to go, a lot of cards, a lot of who's number one cards left, but that's a clear front runner for me.
Wow. Are you a Darkstroke guy?
You see how short my arms are? No, I'm not a Darkstroke guy.
I like to threaten them. I like to act like I know how to do them just to get a pass. That's what I like.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love, dude. Those guys throw those Darkstrokes all over the place from like every angle. I'm gonna have to learn some more Darkstrokes. So
You probably got the arms for it.
yeah, I got the long arms. I used to like Darkstrokes back in the day, but I guess I got away from them. So I gotta get back to it. Sick match. Congrats to those guys, man. Made the entire night worth it, in my opinion. We could have just ended the night right there, and that would have been it. But of course, we didn't. We still had a bunch sick more matches, and one I know that the internet was really looking forward to. We of course were all really looking forward to was the return of Grace Gundrum. Alex Nguyen, was a little bit under the radar, but she came in game as they come, and this was one of the funnest matches of the night. Very close, a lot closer, I think, than people even thought it was going to be. But Alex put on a great performance, and Grace looked like the wizard she is, really, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to double down on that. That Alex was so impressive, especially in the opening couple of minutes. We unrolled our judges' favor system kind of to help break things down for the viewers at home. And Alex was winning in the first 5 minutes in the eyes of the judges, which, I mean, I think everybody expected this to be a short submission, maybe end within 5 minutes. This got drawn out to the last 18 seconds. So very impressive by both competitors. First of all, Alex's ability to come out and put the attack on the who's number one lights that make a lot of people choke.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Right, but then Grace's just finishing ability and her will to finish the match despite the fact that she's in the last minutes is equally impressive.
Mm-hmm. And this is what we were talking about, that 115-pound division is just kind of stacked with talent, and the more we go looking, the more we find these girls that are just high level. And Alex put on a great performance, and but this is right here we're watching. This is kind of like the last maybe minute or so of the match, I believe. And Grace never stopped hunting for the submission. Of course, you had Eddie Bravo in her corner, screaming kind of the whole time to get after it. But I love that Grace is out there getting some recognition on this big stage because, man, her jiu-jitsu is so smooth. Like, look at this little transition.
You know what impressed me too about Grace is I've heard Eddie Bravo and Zach Meslani both say that coaching Grace is like playing a video game, right? You say ABC, she does ABC, but seeing it in action, hearing Eddie say, "Go to the truck," and Grace is in the truck. Let go of the truck and pass. Let go of the truck, and just like she follows the commands and the guidance of her coaches so precisely that she was just like, it was basically them manifesting their game plan through her. And obviously she's got the talent to be able to pull it off, which is...
Yeah, and you see here at the end here, she cycles through, like a rear naked choke to an arm bar, to a triangle, back to the arm bar. She's, Alex had a lot of good defense, and she's just kind of cycled through submission after submission until she was able to get these hands unclasped and get that, there was like 15 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, less than 20 for sure.
So a fun match, goes almost the whole distance, ends in submission. Grace gets the win here. What do you think about seeing Grace on a 10th Planet teammate of yours? Connor, how did it feel watching Grace out there? The fans seem to love this girl.
I think as far as Grace goes, I consider myself much more of a fan than I would ever say a teammate. That's a little bit of a stretch, but shout out Grace. I think she's the kind of competitor we're looking for, especially on who's number one. When you're winning the match, you're on top, you're making it look dominant already, and you only have 15, 20 seconds to go, and you still are looking for the finish. That's what I think jiu-jitsu needs more of, whether it's Who's Number One or any other promotion. So big shout out to Grace for coming out, putting on, what a performance. I hope we get to see her again on the Who's Number One stage this year. And yeah, I mean, I think we also got to give props to Alex. I think people, in the comments, someone said they had put a low bar for her. In fact, they just didn't expect her to do as well as she had against Grace. So, yeah, I think, again, we need to see her out on some more, because Grace Gundrum is quite the hurdle to go after on your first Who's Number One. So shout out Alex for taking on the match. Yeah,
absolutely. Any fans in the comments section talking about Grace, talking about who they'd like to see her up against next?
Not yet. I think we kind of know who we need to see her up against. It's going to be those top 3, 4, and also we didn't get to see the Jessica match, right? So that has to be next on the docket until we can make it happen.
Yep, of course. That was originally slated for Who's Number One. Jessica had an injury, had to pull out, and so hopefully we can run that one back. Of course, Jessa also up in there, that top echelon of grapplers. So that one would be fun. Of course, eventually we'll see a rematch here with Maisa. For sure. That was a very, very close match. A lot of people even maybe even thought Grace edged that last match out versus Maisa. So that's a fun rematch as well.
For sure.
So a lot more to come with Grace Gundrum, hopefully, and we have a couple more matches here to break down. So next one, I believe, was Ty versus Will.
No, PJ and
what am I talking about?
Nikki.
It was PJ versus Nikki. PJ Barch coming back. He looked phenomenal at the Emerald City Invitational. 4 submissions, 4 matches. He was coming in with a lot of hype, a lot of momentum into it, and was taking on, of course, the DDS member, Gordon's brother, Nicky Ryan, the ADCC veteran himself. A lot of eyes on this one. Talking to people in my gym, talking to just people around. This seemed to be one that was really, really exciting to most everybody.
Yeah, and Nicky gave himself a tall task, right? I think he could have maybe come in and played a game that we expect from him, but instead he wanted to wrestle up with PJ, and PJ is a phenomenal wrestler.
That's his thing a little bit.
And Nicky, he couldn't hold him down, but he put him on his back at least twice that I can recall. And even when he wasn't putting PJ on his back, he was coming up with the leg and trying to set him down. PJ, to his credit, had a couple nice attacks off of the takedowns, but really I think a little bit more of a stalemate because Nicky was playing a game that's not his bread and butter.
Yeah, you think that he lost to Ty at our one of the previous Who's Number Ones from last year. And I think that really affected him a little bit, and he was really eager to go out there and prove that he's not just a guard player, he's not just a leg locker, he's got a full game. And when we go down there in Puerto Rico, man, it is impressive to watch what Nicky does in the room, from his wrestling to his guard passing to his guard play. Nicky really, at least looking at him in the gym, man, he really is a complete grappler, and I think that he's ready to prove that. And it just didn't quite go according to plan. I think, of course, Nicky did get the win, but even he said it himself that he was a little bit disappointed in his performance. He was hoping to kind of pull the trigger, I think, just a little bit more. But that might be just a testament to how good PJ Barch is. PJ, it looked great in his Andrew match. He looked great in this match too. So I don't think he really loses too much here. But of course, PJ's a guy who's always looking for the submission. So I'm sure he's a little disappointed as well. What'd you make of this match here, Connor?
Yeah, we had questions about PJ was just coming off Emerald City, and obviously the people at Emerald City weren't what we considered on exactly the level of Nicky Ryan. So he can go through and get all these subs, but then there's still the question of all right, from where he is to where Nicky is, how big is the gap, or is there one? And I think what we figured out was there isn't much of a gap. That was anyone's match. If the refs would have been someone different, it could have went a different way. I would not hate to see that match again, but what I think this does prove is there's no one that doesn't want to see more of PJ Barch after this. Your credibility is not ruined from taking a loss against an opponent like Nicky Ryan. Not only that, but we kind of want to see more. I want to see another one. So
hey, there's definitely people who thought PJ Barch won too.
Yeah, for
So-
sure. And there's going to be a lot more excitement to come from PJ. He faced with someone that was just so their whole game is to restrict movement. PJ is a movement-based grappler a lot of the time, so it makes sense that this is kind of how it plays out.
Did you agree with the decision? You know, I obviously it was a little bit controversial, but I think I think what we're looking for is aggression, is pushing forward, and I just think that Nicky was just a little bit more aggressive. He was the guy who was going first a little bit more often, and I think he just pushed the pace, and ultimately that's what got him the win.
I do agree with the decision. I think the one argument you could make for PJ is that he had the only two attacks that looked like submissions. Now, they were Kimura's as Nicky was trying to take him down. Neither of them ever came close to being an actual submission. And at that point, Kimura is just a grip, right? And in this case, it was a defensive grip. So I think exactly for the reasons you said, Nicky was pushing the pace. Nicky was trying to change the position. He was trying to wrestle up and put PJ to his back. But I think it was close. I'm not surprised that it was a split decision.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, it was 2-1 for Nicky. But a lot of big PJ fans out there. I think he grew his fan base, of course, and yeah, like you said, dude, I think this one is one we'll probably see down the line. Both these guys have goals of winning ADCC gold, so I'm sure we could see that maybe even in 77 at ADCC or perhaps back on the Who's Number One stage, who knows? But I have a feeling we'll see these two guys throw down again. They're two of the best in the world. Fun match, but maybe we can see it again and but even better. But anything else going on in the comments section or social media that we want to talk about? Who's got anything to say in there?
Actually, someone had pointed out the fact that considering how public Nicky Ryan was with his game plan, that you could almost consider it a pretty good success that he got the win, followed through with that game plan he had told everyone he was going to, follow through on. And, while it may not have been exactly the finish that he had wanted, he got the win like he said he was going to. So that in and of itself has got to be a success on some level.
Yep, and that game plan being, a little bit more focused on wrestling up from guard, trying to pass the guard, trying to be a more complete grappler out there. So, I think we're going to see Nicky Ryan back back in the big stage very, very soon. I think he's ready to start putting together wins and wins and wins. We don't see Nicky compete as much as maybe the rest of the squad or at least maybe his brother and Craig and things like that.
But I think with Who's Number One, they're trying to change that, right? I think this is the platform he wants to be on. So it's good to see him coming out more often.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, but I think after the Ty and Tony matches, he had something to prove coming into this match, and I still think he's going to have something to prove coming into this next match. So I think the best is yet to come for Nicky Ryan for sure.
I do got a question for you actually. If the Cade that showed up at Who's Number One faced off against the Nicky Ryan who showed up at Who's Number One, how does that match go?
That's a good question. I mean, you got to think that Cade just could I don't know, shred anybody that night. To be honest, that's what he looked like to me. Cade was just on fire. Looked fantastic. Obviously, it's a different matchup, different style going at it there. And Cade just a little bit smaller, maybe. But I don't think anybody was beating those guys that night. To be honest, that's just me though.
I do like the idea of that rematch though. Remember that Nicky has a win over Cade from the ADCC trials.
That's right, all the way back
2019.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting rematch. They've both developed so much since what was it? March or June of 2019.
Yeah, that was a while ago. I mean,
Right.
when you watch that footage of those guys at the East Coast trials, at the West Coast trials, because Ty fought Ethan at the East Coast trials, lost. Cade fought Nicky at the West Coast trials, lost. And I mean, when you watch that footage, the Rotolo brothers just don't even look close to the same. I mean, they look like adults now. Back in 2019, they still look like kids. These guys, and they're only 18 years old.
And the technique is so much different.
I mean, it was crazy.
It's like they reinvented jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. I mean, so we're gonna talk about this next match here too. Ty Rotolo versus William Tackett. Ty was supposed to take on Craig Jones in the main event. Last minute, of course, you guys already know Craig had to pull out, and we got a fantastic replacement in one of the best grapplers in the world, number 3 ranked William Tackett took on Tai Ruotolo. It was a fantastic match, just as good as of the Craig one. In my opinion, both these guys are great, and Tai went out there, man, and he did the darn thing. Yeah. He did it, and we were talking about these leg locks and how much these guys have developed since 2019, these guys are in these leg locking positions in both their matches, and they look calm as can be, which is night and day from 2019.
Yeah, and in both matches, the Ruotolos who used to avoid leg lock positions were. Cade was the first one to attack Ethan in a leg lock.
That's crazy.
And towards the end of this match, Tai started going after.
Watch this foot sweep right here. This is pretty slick.
Yeah, it just incredibly. No, but Tai started going after William Tackett's legs at the end, and I think in both matches too, they were at points sticking their legs into danger, saying go ahead and take it, and then using that leg entanglement to try and take the back.
Yep. Fantastic. In 2019, just a few years ago, or just a year ago, the leg lock positions would have been, the hole in the Ruotolos games, would have been the weakness in the Ruotolos game. And to see them out there this past weekend, willingly putting themselves in those positions, attacking heel hooks of their own, and flipping it with those Berimbolo counters and things like that. Very, very impressive to see how far that they've come from 2019 in these really intricate leg lock positions and stuff. They look like experts in there already.
Right. I don't know how anybody else feels, but this match made the potential of a Tai versus Craig match so much more interesting for me. I think that the Tai Ruotolo versus Craig Jones was kind of a spectacle, right? It maybe, there are so many hypotheticals. Maybe this could happen. Maybe that could happen. Now I want to see the match because it is Craig Jones Jiu-Jitsu, which we know, versus the Tai Ruotolo Jiu-Jitsu, which he made sure that we all know after this.
What do you think of Connor? What do you think about him putting his hand over the mouth and nose? Tai is gritty out there, right? Did you expect that from him?
A la Wagner Hosha. Yeah, I was a big fan of it. And I'm a huge fan of the Tackets and everything the Brazilian Fight Factory is doing over there. They're the Austin hometown boys, and we always got to root for them. But man, no one really does this to William Tackett, and Tai Ruotolo did.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch, but really, kind of like Corey said, and I had mentioned this on the Grappling Bulletin podcast. It does make the Craig Jones match seem a lot more like it would be a competitive battle, something that we've been looking for someone that will open up and go after Craig Jones, and Tai Ruotolo showed he is the guy to do it.
I mean, he weighed in at 185, 184, something like that. This guy just a year ago, or just a couple of years ago, was fighting 145 pounds at ADCC. 66 kilograms, 145 pounds around there. And to see him put on 40 pounds just a few years later to take on a big guy like William Tackett, it's incredible. He looked big, he looked strong, he looked physical. He looked like he had all the tools, and you got to give extra props here for William. He did take the match on less than a week's notice. So what a G William Tackett is for stepping up against one of the best in the world, surging young competitor like Tai Ruotolo. So shout out to him for doing that. But this match really was all Tai. I mean, you saw at the end there when he was in mount in kind of manipulating the breathing of William. That's really where a lot of this match played out, right? It was from mount there, and Tai just looked extremely dominant. And
what a tactful way to say that. What was it? How'd you say it? What was it about the breathing?
Yeah,
the smother that you mean, just bullying.
Redirecting the breathing.
Changing his breathing pattern.
Oh my God, there is nothing worse than someone putting their hands over your mouth while you're training and stuff like that.
And you can see how effective it is when Tai does it, and
you have to address it.
We saw
immediately.
it through the match, and that's what he's looking for. I think he was getting William Tackett to look away, and you could see as soon as William looked away that, first of all, the anxiety on his face over I have to deal with this now, and the excitement on Tai's face that this is working. I'm going to catch something off of this.
So great match from those guys. But now, of course, the question is, are we going to see Tai versus Craig? And I think a lot of us picked Craig last time in our prediction videos, and the question is, are we going to switch? Is now Ty going to be the favorite here? We haven't seen. Obviously, we saw Craig. A great performance against Ronaldo last time as well. He finished a heel hook very quickly, but it just doesn't feel like that's going to be the same recipe in this time match.
And the question kind of on top of that is, how much is what the Rutolos are doing to counter the leg lock game? How much is that going to shift what we see in the, like right now, the best leg lockers kind of have this trump card, and I'm not talking about maybe the middle of the pack leg lockers, but guys like Gordon and Craig who can leg lock anybody, just have this, I can beat you at any time and I'm going to do whatever I want because of that. How much is what the Rutolos are going to do going to be emulated to the point where it shakes that up?
Absolutely. I mean, he was in those positions certainly with William, and he took the back off of at least one of those leg entries, and I think Cade might have gotten close to taking the back off the same kind of little Barambolo flip. It's really impressive to watch them do it, and the question is, can they do that to Craig? Can Ty do that to Craig? Of course, I think Craig's looking for leg locks, and can Ty stay out of it or flip that? I mean, that's the question. So I'm hoping really bad we get to see that match next. Like you said, I think it's twice as exciting as it was just last week. Suddenly, Ty is big. Suddenly, Ty is ready for the leg locks. Suddenly, Ty is confident. How about his confidence in there? I love talking to these guys. They have this confidence about them. They train so hard. I think we should get Rutolos on like every single one of these who's number ones, man. These guys are must-see TV. Anything else you want to say about this one, Connor? This is a crazy match.
If there's anyone that can shut down Craig's leg game, I can't think of anyone better and braver to do it than Ty Ruotolo.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day. And question, how much do you think he does better or worse than Ronaldo Jr., and by how much is the gap between those two competitors? Because that's Craig's last match with an Atos athlete.
I think the Ruotolo brothers, what they bring to the table that's maybe different than everybody else is that they have been winning since they were 3 years old. They know how to win. Winning is an acquired skill. Winning is very tough. Even if you are great at jiu-jitsu, winning is still hard, especially when the lights are on, especially when there's fans, especially when there's people booing and cheering and stuff like that. There's a lot of anxiety and nerves that comes along with this, and this is a performance-based sport, and if you do not perform, then you'll most likely lose. And I think what the Rutolos bring is that they are able to perform at their best every single time because they have been doing this since they were 3 years old, because they've been thrown out on the mats and said, sink or swim when they were so young. This is 15 years that they've been doing this. This is 15 years that they've had to develop this winning style, and I think that is just something that's a little bit different when you compare him to a guy like Ronaldo Jr., who is a phenom, who's incredible at jiu-jitsu, but maybe we didn't quite see the very best Ronaldo mentally on the mat because of how dangerous, because of the Atos versus DDS drama, because of how much weight really is on these matches beyond just winning and losing. So that would be my opinion. I think Ty just has those intangibles that we maybe don't really see, maybe that you can't train every day on the mats, but he has them.
Nailed it.
Absolutely. Get this man on ESPN. Also, not only should you be on ESPN, but the chat wanted to let you know you're looking yoked, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're looking strong. Yeah,
there we go. There we go. That's the comment I wanted to see. Thanks for that one, Connor. All right, let's move into the main event here. We can talk about this one. We were really looking forward to this one coming through the week. It was great to see Lovato and Burns there throughout the week. Lovato, I think all of us were like, man, Lovato is a big dude. He's got these big hands. It's crazy. How is Burns going to be able to get around the length, everything that Lovato is doing. He's looked so dominant as of lately since he's kind of returned to grappling. I think a lot of people were struggling to see how Gilbert Burns wins this match a little bit. And wow, man, you can't count out Gilbert Burns. He's not the number one UFC welterweight contender for nothing here, right?
Yeah, and a great strategy. He made, he did not hide the fact that he did not want anything to do with the 15-minute match. So he kind of just made the last 5 minutes matter a whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was interesting. I think when I was making my picks, I realized it at the time, and it turned out to be an all right strategy. This was about voting on who has the most grit right now. Not to say that Lovato didn't at the time, but I think that mentality of just being on the chase for a UFC title belt, there is no stronger mentality on the world, and that's really what it seemed like it would just always come down to is when Gilbert Burns wants something and there is an athletic approach to getting it, my money will always be on him right now.
Going forward.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like you could put him in a soccer match against anyone. I'm like, yeah, probably.
Yeah. No, I love, Gilbert's another guy who I was really impressed with is, I don't want to say cockiness, but he does have this confidence about him for good reason, obviously. And, that week, you could definitely see the confidence kind of brimming out of Gilbert the whole week. This is kind of maybe the sequence right here, would you say, Corey, that won Gilbert the match, right?
Yeah, I think the judges were leaning towards Lovato towards the first 10 minutes or so, but it was very, very much a margin. Like, it was Lovato had attempted an omoplata that didn't really sink in. He was trying to sweep from the guard, and he couldn't really get anything going. But the moment that guard pass and then subsequent back take, everybody knew where this was going. And as long as Lovato doesn't submit Durinho at the end here, it's in the bag.
Yeah, and of course, this is what we're all hoping. We don't want the split decisions. Nobody wants a razor thin, winning margin. Nobody wants to be angry at the decision, and so to see Gilbert go out there and take the kind of decision into his own hands, was really, really satisfying, because nothing's worse than having that razor thin, split decision. That's not a great way to really find out who won this match. So great work from Gilbert here to late in the match push the pace and get that guard pass, get that mount. It sounds like maybe it might have even been because kind of he was going back and forth a little bit with Shanji and might have said they were talking in Portuguese like Gilbert doesn't want the fight or didn't want to push the pace, and it sounds like maybe Gilbert took that to heart and he pushed all that extra harder to get the win. So impressive win here for Gilbert Burns. Fantastic performance. And in the main event, we're going to see him later on in July, I believe, versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Another fight in the UFC. You're a big MMA fan too, right? You gonna watch that one, Connor?
Yeah, absolutely. What a clash of styles. Right. You got that karate versus it's pure striker versus. I mean, obviously no one's pure anymore, but it is as close to pure striker versus pure grappler the UFC has.
Yep, absolutely. So we build it as UFC versus Bellator. So does that mean UFC is the victor here? UFC is better all around?
The fans are the victor here.
Yeah, the fans really win. The fans win. Shout out to Rafael. I think he was disappointed, of course, with the match outcome as well. But we always love watching the OG American throw down. I think we'll definitely be seeing more of Rafael anytime Rafael has any sort of setback in his career or life. He always comes on twice as strong the next time around we see him. So whoever is Rafael's opponent next time around,
he will be spending the next couple months in that hyperbaric time chamber.
yeah, really working for it. So fantastic night on the Who's Number One stage here. Just a really great show. I thought we put kind of everything together. Hal and Chase on the mic. We had Eddie Bravo. We had Mo Jassim. We announced our July event in tandem with ADCC, and then of course we announced the next main event for Who's Number One, May 28th. We're going to be doing this one more time, guys. We are going again, of course. The momentum is there. We're keeping this train rolling. Every time they get bigger and bigger and bigger and better. And this time around, we announced Gordon Ryan versus Luis Panza in the main event of May 28th. Who's Number One? Connor, let me throw it out to you real quick. What did you think about this matchup here? What excites you most?
Everything excites me about this matchup, especially seeing Gordon go in there against someone that has an emphasis on submission and submissions towards the legs. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be specifically interesting because it's going to give Gordon a lot of entries into that leg lock game that you talked about. He can snap on and win at any point, but he also likes to call subs that people won't expect. So if he decides, he wants to win via triangle or whatever it is, now he's going to be given opportunities to get into his A game and have to choose not to, which we've seen him do before. He did it with Roberto, he did it with Wagner, but now someone's going to be gunning for the legs. It's going to be interesting to see how he plays it.
Yeah, of course, Panza, if you guys aren't familiar, Panza, no-gi world champion. He trains with Checkmat Bushesha. This guy's a big dude. He looks like a Greek god sometimes when I see him out there at Checkmat. This dude is, an OG black belt. He's been around the game for a long time, veteran black belt at this point. He's had a lot of gi matches. He beat Dylan Dennis one time, but I would say he's known as a leg locker, right? Does that excite you that he's kind of leg locker versus leg locker here?
Yeah, I mean he's got a foot lock that bears his name, right? The Panza lock is like that cross foot lock. It's sometimes called the sock lock, but yeah, he's got a nasty foot lock. One thing that I mentioned this on Monday, but Panza has, in his last 13 victories, they've all been submissions.
Wow.
So, yeah, he's a submission hunter, and we like that against Gordon. A lot of people, even the people that are willing to take a match against Gordon, sometimes don't ever open up. Mm-hmm. That's why the Wagner match was so exciting, because Wagner's willing to attack. That's why the Roberto match was so exciting, because Roberto is going to die on his sword.
Yep.
And I think we're going to see that again.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you can say much about this one. Panza is a legit threat. Panza is a legit black belt world champion, and Panza's probably going to be bigger than Gordon coming into this. So if you had the criticism that Wagner was too small or Wagner was too old, I think that this is a perfect matchup for these two guys. We haven't seen Panza too much. He hasn't been super active, but that might even play in his favor a little bit. We're not exactly quite sure what he's been working on, what he's going to be going after in this matchup. So really excited to see. I don't know, is Gordon going to try to call his submission again? What's left at this point? I don't know for him.
This was a question that the comment section had asked earlier, and it was, does playing such an IBJJF heavy game for so long hurt competitors when they try and make the transition over to a more who's number one style rule set? And this may be something we can see of, Panza has a background in that style of points game, and now he has the size advantage, but he's going in against someone who has a who's number one rules specialized game as well. It may be interesting to test that out.
Yeah, what do you think, Corey? Obviously, this one's going to be 30 minutes. Gordon's matches are 30 minutes, a little different on the Who's Number One stage. From normally they're all 15, but Gordon requests 30 minutes. He wants to make sure that he has enough time to do jiu-jitsu with somebody. What do you think? The IBJJF heavy games that hurt or help somebody?
I think against somebody like Gordon Ryan, it might not be as harmful as you think, because Gordon Ryan's whole game is to slow you down, right? He says that all the time, that he wants to control you and slow you down. Guys who do exceptionally well in the IBJJF rule set do so because they don't take a lot of risks, but they're very slow and conscious of progressing in the right style, so they get to their position without ever giving an edge. I think against Gordon, you can benefit from having a background of not being explosive and losing your mind and flying over the top, but instead fighting fire with fire and playing a slower game and trying to progress. Now, who can progress through Gordon Ryan's guard? I don't know.
Gordon's
let's
the best,
see it, but yeah.
Right? So, I mean, a lot of questions, of course, but this is a fresh name. Panza and Ryan have never matched up before. So, we'll see. May 28th, main event. Who's number one? It's going down right here in Austin, Texas. We're going to have fans in the building again. So if you're local, definitely check out the ticket link. I'm sure on FloGrappling.com you can find that. We will be selling tickets to this one again, like I said. So really hype event. Really looking forward to this one, of course. That's the main event. We've announced a couple more matches here. We're going to announce a match live on the program here in just a few minutes. But this next one, let's talk a little bit about. Mikey Musameshi is going after the number one spot in no-gi. Of course, Mikey, more known as a gi player. He's jumped in headfirst into this no-gi arena, and he is going after that number one spot. And who owns it? Lucas Pinheiro. What do you think about this one, Corey? This one should be fun.
I really like this match. You know, these two have been. I'm surprised they haven't faced off 30 times at this point, because they're both really towards the top of the pack at the lighter weight classes. They had one match at Pans back in 2016. That was a gi match, but at least at black belt, this is going to be their first no-gi match. Lucas has been really active no-gi. He won no-gi Pans in 2020, and yeah, he goes after it. He's got incredible pressure. So I'll be surprised. I think we'll get a real good look at what Mikey's no-gi guard looks like. We talked about that again in the Marcelo Cohen match, but Lucas will put the pressure on him. So I want to see how that changes Mikey's guard.
And Lucas, a veteran of the game, like you said, he's been around for a long time as well, and he's looked impressive. He jumped around. He's a guy who's from Brazil, of course. He's from the Manaus region, which we've talked about many times as being the Dagestan of Brazil, or the Dagestan of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's where Lucas comes from. He bounced around a little bit. He was from Cicero Costa with the Meow Brothers a little bit. He was on Checkmat here in Dallas for a little bit, I believe, and now he's landed for the past several years in San Diego with Atos, with Andre Galvao, with Rotolo Brothers, and obviously we know that Atos is hands down one of the very best, if not the best team in the world. So you have to think that the Atos room is going to have Lucas Pinheiro well prepared for this Mikey Musumeci match, right?
Absolutely. And I love this matchup because we talk about Atos a lot, and deservedly so. I mean, they got the Ruotolo brothers coming out, Kynan, Rafaela, Hulk, everybody. But this is kind of a different side of the Atos scene that we don't get to highlight as often, which is super exciting. Also, for a lot of the fans, there were some critiques from Mikey about like taking on someone like Marcelo Cohen that maybe doesn't have the same either stature or, pedigree that Mikey did, and Mikey said, all right, fine, let's up the ante then, and that is what we're talking about, really shooting for that who's number one spot, and if he's able to take it, then all targets better be on Mikey Musumeci, and we get to see more of it. So I'm excited. You
can't complain anytime Mikey's out there on the mat. That's just must-see TV, in my opinion.
You know what I love about this is Mikey was like very upfront with us that he wants to be on every Who's Number One for the foreseeable future. And he doesn't just want to be on every Who's Number One. He wants to defend the number one spot, right? So he burst into the rankings. Now he's taking on the number one guy, and then he's going to have a huge target on his back. And, let's see. I'd love to see him move around in weight classes, but first things first, right? He's got to get through Lucas Pinheiro, which is not easy.
Yeah, I think Lucas Pinheiro going to be maybe the bigger guy. I think he's a little bit bigger for that weight class. He's going to be certainly more aggressive, I think, than Marcelo. He's definitely got some higher level technique. These guys, have never faced off in this no-gi setting, so I'm curious what Lucas is going to bring. Obviously, Mikey is one of the best in the world, so this should be a good matchup, man. I'm really looking forward to co-main event on May 28th. Anytime you got Mikey and Gordon on the same card, like, holy smokes, doesn't get any better than that, man. While we're here, though, before we go, we want to release the next matchup coming up on Who's Number One, May 28th. We've already announced 2 matches. We're going to announce all the rest of the matches for the rest of the week. But while we're here, let's talk about the next matchup here on Who's Number One. Let's throw it to the graphic. Do we have a drum roll here, Tyler? There we go.
There we go. That was pretty cool.
Wagner Hosha versus another Atos prospect, or an Atos established killer, the bronze medalist from 2019 ADCC, none other than the Hinger team specialist himself. Josh Hinger takes on the returning veteran in Wagner Hosha. I'm not sure a lot of people saw this one coming.
No, and I'm really excited about this match. We have, what could be an ADCC super fight of sorts, right?
Yeah.
Both guys are ADCC medalists in 2019, and really, for my money, there's nobody that I'd like to see against Wagner and his wrestling more than somebody who's willing to take a shot on Wagner. Wagner can kind of quiet people's wrestling
Yeah.
ability down just with his grips. But Hinger's going to take
You,
shots.
you don't want to shoot because he's got that, the 50-50 of the arms. He's going to Kimura you. So I feel like, watch the AJ Agazarm Wagner Hosha match from trials all the way back. Every time AJ shot, immediately Wagner's on a Kimura. So yeah, I mean, both these guys, great wrestlers. Josh has a great wrestling background. So going to be curious to see how they treat this matchup on the feet. Did I screw this up? Did I screw this reveal up, Connor? Was it any any people in the comments have any questions or thoughts on this one?
No,
yet?
the people in the comments are actually, they're saying this is actually pretty dope, and
Ooh.
the ears should have given it away, and similar comments. Also, someone said they watched the first episode of the Donahair Death Squad in Puerto Rico and they loved it. Reed,
Heck
so
yeah.
go check that out if you haven't already.
For sure, we just dropped the first episode of our newest Puerto Rico series with the Danaher Death Squad. If you guys haven't checked that one out, definitely check it out. It's on the site right now. 30 minutes of what John and Gordon and everybody are building down in Puerto Rico. It's really special stuff, so hope you guys check that one out. But the story here, Josh Hinger versus Wagner Hosha, is the third match on our Who's Number One card. We got plenty of more matches to announce. This one is going to blow the last Who's Number One out the water. I have a feeling they keep getting better and better. Connor, anything else you want to say, or anything in the comment sections got going down back there?
You asked me at the beginning of the show if the last Who's Number One was the best Who's Number One,
There we go.
the next Who's Number One will be the best Who's Number One.
Hell yeah.
That's what we got to go. And stay tuned on the Instagram for everyone in the comments. Make sure if you're going to be in Austin, Texas for May 28th, you can get your tickets at the link in our bio. That's what I got.
Perfect, man. Don't want to miss this one. It's going to be hype as hell. Corey, anything else you wanted to say, brother?
No, join us right back here next week. By next week, we will have all of the matches for the next event announced. So we'll get to talk about the whole thing.
So we can do some predictions. You guys can laugh at us, and we'll do that whole thing like we always do. And should be a lot of fun. Can't wait for it. We got a lot of content, a lot of killer stuff coming out these days. So make sure you are on FloGrappling.com 24/7. You might miss something if you're not. Otherwise, for Reed, for Corey, for Connor, we're going to take off, and we'll see you guys next time.